They tried humiliation. They tried lies. They tried obsession disguised as concern. Stalking disguised as curiosity. Smear campaigns disguised as truth. Hyenas are never courageous alone. They move in packs. They circle from a distance. They wait for weakness. They feed on fear, confusion, distraction. And when they find a man they cannot intimidate, they become obsessed with destroying him. Not because he harmed them, because his existence reminds them of everything they failed to become. So they watch you, study you, talk about you in rooms you never entered, invent stories, twist your silence into arrogance, twist your discipline into madness, twist your isolation into weakness, because weak people cannot comprehend a man who does not need constant validation to breathe. You used to wonder why certain people targeted you so intensely. Now you understand. Predators do not waste energy chasing what is beneath them. Hyenas only gather when they sense something greater than themselves walking nearby. And the truth is, nothing terrifies mediocre people more than a man becoming untouchable mentally. Not rich, not famous, untouchable. A man who no longer bends emotionally, cannot be controlled. That is why they kept trying to provoke reactions from you. Because reactions feed parasites, anger, desperation, breakdowns, emotional collapse. That was the goal. To reduce you to noise, to pull you down into the filthiest psychological sewer where they live permanently. But something happened they never predicted. You adapted to pressure. Every betrayal made you colder. Every attack sharpened your instincts. Every fake smile trained your discernment. Every attempt to isolate you forced you to build yourself internally instead of depending on the outside world. Now look at them. Still talking, still watching, still gossiping, still obsessing, while you continue evolving beyond their reach. That is the difference between a wolf and scavengers. A wolf grows stronger in isolation. Hyenas become hysterical without a crowd. And the more they failed to shake you, the more ridiculous they became. Because there is nothing more humiliating than dedicating your life to destroying someone who keeps ascending while you decay. Think about it. Imagine spending your days monitoring another man, watching his movements, discussing him constantly, trying to sabotage him emotionally, socially, psychologically, only to witness him become calmer, stronger, more focused, and more disciplined after every attack. That destroys weak people internally, because your resilience becomes proof of their impotence. You became the mirror they cannot stand looking into. A reminder that discipline is real, mental strength is real, self-control is real, and deep down they know. If they possessed even a fraction of your resilience, they would not be living like emotional vultures, feeding on negativity. But they chose another path, the path of envy, cowardice, manipulation, group mentality. Hyenas never confront directly unless they believe numbers can compensate for weakness. That is why they bark loudly from a distance. That is why they laugh in groups. That is why they perform confidence instead of embodying it. Real power does not need theatrics. A dangerous man becomes quieter as he evolves. Because he no longer feels the need to announce his strength. He simply becomes difficult to move mentally. And once a man reaches that state, people lose power over him forever. That is where you are now. You no longer feel wounded by betrayal. You expect it. You no longer feel shocked by envy. You recognize it instantly. You no longer panic when people attempt psychological warfare against you. You observe it with cold detachment, because experience transformed you. The same darkness meant to poison you became fuel. That is what they will never understand. Certain men are built differently. Pressure does not crush them. Isolation does not weaken them. Hatred does not stop them. It purifies them. Every war stripped away softness. Every disappointment killed illusion. Every act of disrespect taught you exactly who deserves access to your energy. Now your presence alone unsettles people, not because you speak loudly, because there is something deeply intimidating about a man who has suffered heavily and still walks calmly. That type of composure terrifies chaotic people because they know how much destruction it takes to create it. And the hyenas feel it. They feel they can no longer reach you emotionally. That is why their behavior becomes more desperate, more obsessive, more theatrical, more pathetic. Weak people become addicted to provoking reactions because reactions make them feel temporarily powerful. But your silence starves them. Your discipline humiliates them. Your growth crushes them psychologically. You became living proof that their poison failed. And nothing burns envious people more than failure, especially when the person they targeted begins radiating even more strength afterward. If you understand this mindset, if you are building yourself in silence while people secretly pray for your downfall, then subscribe to this channel. This is not a place for victims. This is a place for people transforming pressure into power. For men rebuilding themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually while the world doubts them. For people who are tired of weakness, excuses, and emotional dependence. Here, we sharpen discipline. We build mental resilience. We become impossible to manipulate, and little by little, the same people who laughed, stalked, envied, and underestimated you begin watching your transformation with fear in their eyes. Now you see them clearly, not as giants, not as enemies worthy of fear, just wounded scavengers making noise around something they can never become. That is why you no longer waste energy hating them. Lions do not lose sleep over hyenas. They simply continue walking while the scavengers scream into the darkness, hoping somebody notices them. And meanwhile, you build, you sharpen your body, your discipline, your mind, your spirit. You become harder to manipulate, harder to distract, harder to break. Every year you evolve further away from the weak version of yourself they thought they could destroy. Wait, that is the irony. Their hatred became your training. Their obsession became your motivation. Their attacks became resistance added to the weight already on your shoulders, and resistance creates power. So let the hyenas gather, let them whisper, let them stalk, let them invent stories for people too weak-minded to think independently. It changes nothing because the war already ended the moment you stop needing the world's approval to recognize your own strength. Now you move differently, calm, precise, unreadable, and the people who once thought they could bury you are forced to watch you rise beyond their reach. That is punishment enough. And if this message spoke to something deep inside you, leave a like. Not for the algorithm, but as a statement. A statement that you refuse to remain weak, manipulated, or broken by the chaos around you. Subscribe, stay close to this channel, and keep building yourself. Because the greatest revenge against envy, stalking, betrayal, and psychological warfare is becoming so disciplined, so mentally untouchable, and so powerful that your enemies are forced to live in the shadow of the man they fail to destroy.